Welcome back, guys. So I would like to apologize for some misunderstanding. If you notice, when we go through this chapter, you will see that um, it's already been teach in chapter 2. So basically, I was reorganizing my slides, and then I figured that by mistake some content that's supposed to be in chapter 3 was were already in chapter 2, such as the if statements and then the for loop, stuff like that. So I already organized those slides. So I've uploaded the new version slides on Kalam for chapter 2 and chapter 3. And also for chapter 3, actually, you're going to learn about the control structures and GUI applications. And since we already included in the previous classes, so I'm just gonna copy those recording here in this chapter 3 recording, and there's some additional slides that I'm gonna go through today. So I apologize again for the some misunderstanding, and let's start with chapter 3, which is class structures. So in control structure, we will learn about two kind of structure. Okay, because in Java we have a sequence of structure that already built in. So the structures I'm talking about is the statements that we include in the Java programming. So there are three selection structures. Those three selection structures are if statements, if else statements, and switch statements. And we also have repetition structures. The repetition structures, we also have three of it, which is while statements, do while statements, and for statements. And remember that each of these words is a Java keyword, so you cannot use it. If you do coding, it will detect as the Java keyword. All right. Okay, let's move on. And then this next few slides is already that I mentioned earlier. It's already included in our previous lecture that I've uploaded last week. So this I'm just pasting the previous recording. Okay, and then from slides 3 until slides 27 that I am pasting from the previous recording. So you can just go through it again, and then let's continue. So moving on to selection. Okay, so actually selection is about the syntax in Java programming in OOP. Okay, let's see. So now we're going to talk about the syntax of the if statement. Okay, so how are you going to use if statement in object-oriented programming? First, you must have if, and then you have to put the Boolean expression in your bracket, then block, and then in that block you put your statement, else, and then else block. So in this then block and else block, where you include the condition that you want to do with the program. Okay, for example, here the example of simple if statement. All right, so if the test score is less than 70, okay, you will print out a value of you did not pass, else you did pass. Okay, this is an example of a simple if statement. So in if statement, you can use several operators. They call it as a relational operators. Okay, so the list shows 6 relational operators for comparing the value, and then the result is a Boolean values. It's either true or false. Okay, that's the only result you can use in if statement. Okay, one very common error when people when students write program, they like to mix up the assignment and equality operators. So we frequently make a mistake of writing, for example, if x equal to 5, when we actually wanted to say if x equal to 5 with a double symbol, like stated here. Okay, so if you want to use less than, use that symbol. If you want to use less than or equal to, use this symbol. Okay, make sure to memorize and know how to use this symbol. For example, here test score less than 80, and test score times 2 greater than or equal to 350, and so on. Okay, that's the correct way to use the relational operators. And then moving on to the compound statements. Okay, when compound statement is when there are more than one statement in the end, in the then or the else block. So we put the braces as the illustrated here. So first thing first, that you have to remember the rules for writing the then and else block. First, you must remember that left and right braces are necessary to surround the statement if the then or else block contains multiple statements. Okay, so you look here. Okay, in this one block of code, if test score less than 70, so the whole statement here in this first box must be included in one curly bracket. Okay, and then braces are not necessary. Braces here is the curly bracket. Okay, curly brackets are not necessary if the then or else block contains only one statement. So here you must have two set of curly bracket here. If the statement, the then block, else, the else block, another curly bracket. So it separates these two blocks. Okay, and the semicolon is not necessary after the right brace. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the style guide. Okay, here are the most common format styles. Okay, in this course we will use style 1. Okay, mainly because this style is more common around programmers and it follows the recommended style guide for Java. So if you prefer style 2, then go ahead, you can use it, whichever style you choose, but be consistent, okay? Because consistent look and feel are very important to make your code readable, especially if you want to get back to your code in future, or you have to make your code readable so easy for me to mark your project. So you can choose style 1 or style 2, but I recommend to use style 2. Okay, so here's is the second form of the if statement. So we call this form if then. Okay, notice that if then statement is not necessary because we can write any if then statement using if then else by including no statement in the else block. So for instance, the sample if then statement can be written as if test score greater than or equal to 95, and then the message box shows you are an honor student. Else, so it's showing the results. So in this book, we use if-then statement whenever it is appropriate. So to make it like easier for you to understand, let's take a look at the second example. So I'm pretty sure you can understand this. It's very simple. It's just basic if-then statement. Just put the Boolean expression and then put the message box in the if statement. So now we're going to see the if else if control. So this is if you have different condition, okay? So for example, you want to convert the test score and the grade into a programming. So you want to try to print out the grade, okay? So for example here, if the score is greater than or equal to 90, your grade is A. Else if your score greater than or equal to 80, your grade is B. And so on until the last condition. You put else, your grade is F. And then moving on to the next one, if the nested if statement. So the then and else block of an if statement can contain any valid statement, including other if statements. And if statements containing another if statement is called a nested if statement. Okay, so let's look in the example here. So we have if statement, right? If else statement. If test score greater than or equal to 70. And then we have another specific condition in this if student age less than 10, you should print you did a great job, else you did pass. Okay, else if the test score less than 70, you print you did not pass. So this is how you use nested if. You put the second if statement in the main if statement before the else statements. Boolean operators. Okay, what is actually Boolean operators? Boolean operators takes Boolean values as it takes Boolean values as it operates and returns the Boolean value. So there are three Boolean operators here, and or not. So and we use the and double and symbol, or doubles like double L symbol, and then not the exclamation mark symbol. So this is an example on how to use the Boolean operator. If temperature is greater than or equal to 65 and distance to destination is less than 2, so system out print line, let's walk. Else system out print line, let's drive. This is the example how you can use the Boolean operators in your programming. And then now the semantic of Boolean operators. Okay, so is in this table is the list of the semantic of 3 Boolean operators. So if it's only for, let's see on the second, third, fourth, and fifth column of this table. Okay, the first second column, P and Q, is the actual value. False, P false, Q false. If P and Q, because P and Q both false, P and Q will also be false. If P or Q, it will be false. If it's not P, remember the exclamation mark is not P, not P. So what is P here? P is false, not P is true. Okay, let's look at the second row. Okay, the P value in the second row is false. The Q value in the second row is true. So P and Q, it will be false. So, because if you compare P and Q, if you compare true and false, it will be false. Okay, but if you say P or Q, it will be true. And then let's see at the last column. The last column, second row, is so it shows here not P. Okay, what is P here? P here is false, right? So not P is true. And so on with the third and the fourth row. It's the same thing. Okay. So basically, this is just the operator precedence rule. Okay. So this table shows the order of operator evaluation. So don't memorize this table. I just want you to understand it. Instead of memorizing this table, it is more convenient and the code more readable if you use the parentheses. So for example, the group here, let's see here, the equality operators. So the equality operators is the double equal value or the exclamation mark and equal value. The double equal meaning is equal to, and then the second one is not equal to, and so on. So you just need to understand, and then when you start using it in your code, there is no need to memorize. You will automatically understand and know when to use it. Okay. And now comparing objects. So with the primitive data types, we have only one way to compare them, okay? But with objects, reference data types, so we have two ways to compare them. we can test whether two variables points to the same object by using the equal symbol, or we can test whether two distinct objects have the same content using equals bracket method. Okay, so let's see at the example. So in this example, we use the equal symbol with the objects. Okay, when we use the equality operator, which is the double equal symbol, we can compare the contents of the variable, which is here is string 1 and string 2. Okay, str1 and str2. Okay, so str1 equal to str2 must be true, meaning that the content of these two strings are the same. That means they are pointing to the same object because the content of a reference data type is an address. All right? So, but if there are two distinct objects, okay, two different objects, even the value of the string that holds, even if the value that hold by the string, okay, the string here, str1, str2 is the object, right? Even if the value are the same, the equality testing by the equality operator will always result in false. Okay, so let's see the second example. Okay, the second example is when it only define the first string, which is the str1. Okay, earlier the str1 and str2 were both assigned to Java, new string name, but this one only assigned to str1, which is Java. And then we just do str2 equal to str1, which is referring to Java. So if str1 equal to str2, so we are going to print out the result. So using your logic mind, okay, now str2 and str1 supposed to be what? Supposed to be Java, right? It's referring to the same word, which is Java. So if we think logically, the output should be what? The output should be they are equal. So it is correctly printing a correct output, which is they are equal. Like in the previous slide, it is pointing to it is printing a wrong output, which is they are not equal. So now you know, okay, the differences when you use the equality operator correctly. So now if we're using equals with string, okay, so earlier we used the symbol, right, the equal symbol, the equality operator, okay. Now what if we use the word equals? Okay, what are we trying to do? It's the same thing. We are trying to compare whether these two string of object have the same sequence of character. So we use the equal method. So here we have string str1 and we assign to a string named Java, and then string str2 new string Java. So we are trying to, so you see here the string 1 and string 2 are the same, right? Java, both are same. So we want to see, so in our code it should print out they are equal, right? So we use str1 dot equals bracket str2. We print they are equal, else they are not equal. So the output is correct. The output printed here is they are equal. Now, the semantic of the equality operators, which is the double equal sign. Okay, so we have two cases here. Case A, there are two variables that refer to two different objects. Okay, and then we have case B, which is two variables that refer to the same object. Alright, so we are going to define which one are true and which one are false. Let's see at the case A first. Okay, case A, we define string str1 comma str2. str1 equal to new string Java, str2 equal to new string Java. And then we write str1 equal to str2. So that is false. So how? But it's supposed to be correct, right? Because str1 and str2 both have string Java in a correct order. It's supposed to be true. It's false because the use of the equality operator, double equality operator here. Okay, let's see in the case B. Okay, case B. So we define the same thing again. String 1, str1, str2, and then we define str1 value, which is new string Java, and then str2 equal to str1. We did not declare anything for str2 here. Okay, we did not set any new string value to str1 here, but we simply just referring str2 with str1. So when we do the comparison str1 equal to str2, the answer will be true. So how you going to use this equal? It's based on the case B. Do not use it like case A. Okay. All right. So in creating a string objects, you have to be very clear. All right. So for example here, okay, we have string word 1 and word 2. Okay, word 1 again we assign to new string named Java, and word 2 as new string named Java, like the previous example. So whenever the new operator is used, there will be a new object. So if you do like this, your code will always be false. Okay, the right way to do this, you can also do like this. String word 1, word 2, and then you just simply assign word 1 to Java and then word 2 to Java. So you can see the difference in the first example here, there will be two objects. One is word 1 to the first Java, and then second one is word 2 to the another object named Java, the same name. Okay, so in order to use the same name, you just referring to one object. So like how you did in the second example here, word 1 equal to Java, word 2 equal to Java. So basically here showing that the literal string constants such as Java will always refer to one object. So if you write your code like this, it is correct. So you have to remember that. Do not refer same object to the same name. Okay, so if not, your code will be confused when you are trying to run it. It might not show you any error, but it will be problem. Okay, now is the switch statement. So let's learn how to use switch statement. Okay, this is the example of the switch statements. So the variable here is the what? The grade level. Integer grade level. That is the variable here. And then the grade level here are called as the switch control. Okay. The switch control begins when you write switch column grade level. So this is where your switch statement begins. So the data type for a switch control must be one of the integer data types or character. Okay, it must be only these two. It's either integer or character. Okay, for switch statement, it's kind of similar to the if else if statement earlier that we went through earlier, but it's only written in a different way. When you do the if statement, it's if else if else if else if then else. Here when you use switch statement, it use case. So for example here, case 1, you print go to the gym. Break, that means your code, when you compiling the code, it will break here. When you're running the code, you will break here, and then it will exit the switch statements. Okay, or case 2, go to the science auditorium. Case 3, go to Harris Hall. Case 4, go to Bolt Hall. That is how it's like the statement is executed if the grade level is equal to 1. Okay, and then here the statement is executed if the grade level is equal to 4. So here for if statement, you put the condition inside the if statement, right? But the switch statement, you put the condition outside the switch statement. So the condition here is the grade level here. So it is based on the grade level. So if the grade level equal to 1, it run the first case. If the grade level is 2, it runs the second case. If the grade level is 3, it runs the third case, etc. Depends on how many cases you will have. Okay. And this is the common syntax for the switch statements. Okay. So the general syntax of the switch statements. So the case body may contain 0, or more statement. Like I said earlier, it depends on you, how many cases you want to put based on the number of condition. So here, the switch, you begin the switch statement with the word switch, and then column, the arithmetic expression, okay, and then the case open with curly bracket, and don't forget to close with curly bracket, and then in between those curly bracket you put your case. Case 1, what is it? Case 2, what is it? Okay, for example, let's go again to the example here. So what in this switch grade level? So what is the arithmetic expression here? It is the grade level. Grade level is the arithmetic expression. And the case label here is the case number. Case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4. That is the case label. And then the case body here is the system output line. The code that you include in this case, which is system output line, go to Harris Hall, blah blah blah, and then semicolon, and then break, semicolon. Okay, that is how you write a switch statement. And now the repetition. Okay, how are we going to use repetition? So repetition is when you are going to use the while statement. So first, you will have while statement. In repetition, you will have while statement, do while statement, you have for statement, and nested for statements. Okay, first we are going to look at the while statements. Okay, to write a while statement, you begin your line of code with the word while, and then the Boolean expression in the bracket, and then include your statements. So here is the example. While. Okay, you have to understand the word while. Okay, while, Boolean expression, number less than or equal to 100. So the condition here, as long as the number is less than 100 or equal to 100, it will keep on repeating the statement non-stop until the number is equal to 101. Then it will stop calculating. So here, while number equal to or less than 100, and then you go inside the statement. The statement here we call the loop body, and then we do the summation. Sum equal to sum plus number, number equal to number plus 1. Okay, for example, here, if we have number 1, okay, sum equal to sum plus number. Okay, so 1 plus 1, 2. So number will be 2 plus 1. So it will keep on increasing the value until the number equal to 101. Then it will exit the loop body. Okay, but you have to understand the loop body may not be executed at all if the number is already bigger or greater than 100. Okay, it will only go through inside this loop body if it meets the condition. Right? Okay, that was while statements. Now it is the do while statement. Okay, so in the do while statement, we begin the statement with do. Okay, do statements while Boolean expression. So first we do the statements. In these statements, in this loop body, we will keep doing the statements, keep repeating inside the loop body until the summation, which is the total summation, is less than or equal to 1 million. So it will keep on doing the summation unless the summation value become 1,000,001, then it will stop the operation. Okay, that's how it works. And then moving on to the for statements. Okay, for for statements is we have the initialization. The initialization here is the component can also include a declaration of the control variables. Okay, so to begin the for statement, we begin it with for, semicolon, the Boolean expression, semicolon, and the increment. And then we include the statements. Okay, let's look at the example here. For the initialization here is letter I. So I equal to 0. And then the Boolean expression. Okay, I less than 20. Okay, that means we will keep this for statement running until the I value is reaching 20. Once it reaches 20, it will stop the for value. Okay, I plus plus, that means it increment the value of I that we begin with I equal to 0, right? Increment I plus plus, that means it will keep on increasing the value of I. Okay, and then we go inside the statement, which is the loop body. Number equal to scanner dot next integer, bracket, sum plus equal to number. So it will keep doing this calculation until the Boolean expression condition is met, which is I less than 20. So when I equal to 19, it will still continue the calculation. But when I equal to 20, it will stop the calculation and it will exit the for statement. Okay, this is for the nested for statement. So nested, we learned earlier about the nested if statement. Okay, this one is for the nested for statement. So for the nesting of for statement inside of another for statement is commonly used. Okay, it is very common for people to use it. So how does it work? Okay, so basically, let's see how can we generate a table using nested for statement. Okay, how can we use a nested for loop in the most appropriate way to generate a table such as in this example? Okay, this is how we can do it. Okay, first we define the integer. Okay, the integer price. And then we define the first for statement. Okay, we define the first for statement that have the value with the initiator. Remember earlier, the initialization, which is integer with equal to 11. We start with 11, and then with less than equal to 20, and then with plus plus. So for each value of width, length, so we go inside the for statement. Okay, first we define width and then the length. Okay, the second for statement here, we define the integer length. The initialization for length is 5, and then the length must be less than or equal to 25. Length plus equal to 5. Okay, the increment for length value is 5. For example, it begins with 5. The next length value will be 10, and the next length value will be 15, like that. So for each value of width, the length will range from 5 to 25, because it already said here the Boolean expression for length is 25, right? So length will range from 5 to 25 with an increment of 5s. So how it will work is, when the width is 11, the length will be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then it will stop. It will stop there. Because when the length is equal to 25, stop. And then again, went back to the outer 4. Okay, the length is the inner 4, and then went back to the outer 4, and then the width is 12 now, and then went back to the inner 4. So the length will be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and then it reached line 25, back to the outer 4, and then the width will be 13, and then go inside the inner 4 again, and then the length will be 5, 10, and so on. It continues until the width is equal to 20, and then it will stop. Okay, then it will generate the table like you see in the previous slide. Okay, that's how we do the nested for. So, what is actually basic GUI component? So, basic GUI component is a component is an object with a graphical representation that can be displayed on a screen and that can interact with the users. So here is how you can use the GUI component. Okay, we're gonna go through each of the component, the basic component. So this one is the button. How can you use the button? All right. So button is actually when user can press on a button and then the event is generated. For example, user press that button and then the form submitted. That's the example. So how can you use this? How can you create this function in Java? You can use java.awt.button and then you can just declare button bracket. It will only construct a button with no label. And then if you declare button in a bracket string label, that means in this string you can name the button, which is if you use string label, it will construct a button with a specified labels. And then the second component is the checkbox. All right, checkbox are two states. It's either on and off. Okay, so the state of the button is written as object arguments, but for checkbox is event occurs. Okay, how are you going to use the checkbox? You can use by java.awt.checkbox. Okay, this in the figure it shows the example of checkbox component. And then the third basic GUI component is the radio buttons. For radio buttons, it is a group of checkbox actually. But only one of the items in the group can be selected at one time. You cannot select two radio button, only one radio button. Okay. So if you want to use, you can use the AWT to create a radio button by writing java.awt.checkbox group. So in this figure, it shows the example of the radio button component. So now this is the choice button. So for this component, it acts like a radio button where we can put a list of selection. However, it requires less space and it also allows us to add items to the menu dynamically using the add item function method. So this is the example how choice button component looks like. So labels. Label is a component that allows us to add a text description to a point on the applet or on the application. And then text field. Text field actually is an area where user can enter text. It is useful for displaying and receiving text message. We can make it read-only or editable. Okay, for example, when you want user to fill out information such as their name, okay, when you're creating a form and then you want the user to input their name in the form, so this is where the text field is applicable. So this is an example of the component application. That as it's based on the previous components that I've mentioned earlier. How the test button, the test checkbox, the radio buttons labels and the text field. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 3. So I will see you during the lab session for exercise using GUI. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.